is James with Reliant Mortgage Solutions. I'm just putting together a quick video today so that everyone can see exactly how to get started on their mortgage application. So if you've never done an application with us before, you won't be as familiar, but this is the home screen after you click the application link. So there's only two options on here to either create an account or log in. For a first timer, it's very likely that you would create an account. If you've done a loan with us before, you might click login to go back to an existing application, but 9 out of 10 times this is going to be where you go. So after you hit this create an account button, you'll see a page like this. And for the sake of time, I already put my information in ahead of time, but you'd fill in your information. It'd be your first name, your last name, your email address, your phone number, and then you'd choose your password and agree to the terms. Once you've done all that, you've filled it out, you click register, and then it will shoot you over to this page right here. And it says you have created an account with Reliant Mortgage Solutions. And this is sometimes where people get stumped, but this is not quite the last step. There's one more thing you have to do for you before you can actually start inputting the information of your mortgage scenario, and that is to activate your email. So what you do is you go to the email that you put in, and I created a dummy email just for this, and it'll say, okay, you've started your application with Reliant Mortgage Solutions. It'll look exactly like this. You just have to click this link, and then once it loads up, you'll see your account has been activated. There you're gonna wanna hit this My Account button that is gonna be found at the top right corner of the page. It should be there on any page throughout the process. And once you do that, you'll be able to log in. You just put in the information that you just activated. So it'll be the email address associated with your account. And then also it'll be the password that you just picked out too. Once you're in, there'll be a couple of questions right off the top. They're pretty easy. Either pick purchase or refinance. Purchase is if you're buying a property that you don't currently own. Refinance is if you're doing a loan for a property that you do currently own and you're just switching it out for a new one. That being said, once you get past that question, you're going to be faced with the first subheading is loan and property. And you're going to give us some basic information in this subheading that includes stuff like the appraisal value, the purchase price, the down payment. You can put all that stuff in there on the onset. Even if you don't totally know what all these numbers are going to be, we're going to adjust them as we go through the process. So the important thing to remember is just to get something in those sections. Another important thing to remember in this section is if you've not shopped for a property and you don't have a current or you don't have a specific address in mind, you can just throw TBD for to be determined in the street and city boxes. And that way it'll indicate to us and we'll know that, hey, we're doing this pre-qualification and this is not subject to a current property that you already have picked out. That being said, the next subheading that you're going to be looking at is this About You section. This is pretty simple. A lot of this stuff will actually be pulled over from the first page when you first activated your account. One thing to keep in mind that's really important on this page is your current address. If you've been there for 2 years, all we need is your current address, but we need a full 2 years of residence history for your mortgage application. So if you've been at your current address for less than 2 years, then we're going to need you to fill out your previous address. And whether that's 1, 2, 3 different places that you've lived, it needs to be the full 2-year duration. That being said, that's pretty simple. Next subheading you're going to be faced with is this work subheading. This is pretty simple as well, but just like the residence history, we need 2 full years of work history. So if you've been at one job for the last 2 years, then that's fine. That'll suffice. Put that information under current employment. But say you've only been at your current job for 1 year, we're going to need you to add in all of your previous employments until you reach that 2-year mark. We need the full 2-year duration. So just keep that in mind when you're going through this section. The next section that you're going to see is income. This is also very simple. You just put in the correct amount of income per month in the correct section. And the reason I say per month is because it's pretty common for me to go through a mortgage application and see that people have actually put in their yearly amounts. But as you can see here, it's a monthly income. It's not a huge deal if you do yearly. I can kind of work backwards and deduce what your monthly income would be from your yearly amounts. But just to streamline the process and make sure we're all on the same page, just go ahead and put the monthly income information in the corresponding boxes. The next subheading you're going to be looking at is assets. This is also pretty simple. You put the type of asset you have under the account type, you put the balance under the balance, and then the financial institution, that's maybe the name of the bank or the investments or whatever you have. One note though is that there's only these 3 options in the dropdown: checking account, gift, and savings account. Well, obviously there's other forms of assets that you may be using in your mortgage transaction. Say it's retirement or investments, things like that. In that case, right next to where you put the financial institution, just in parentheses, put what type of account it is, and then I can adjust accordingly on our end before we ever submit anything to the lenders. That way, it's just an easy way to communicate what type of asset it actually is. The next subheading that's important to keep in mind is real estate owned. So this is sometimes skipped during this mortgage application process because I think people don't really understand what it's asking 100% of the time. So what this is it's asking you to list all properties that you own that are not the subject property of this mortgage transaction. So an example of that would be, say you already have a current primary residence, and then you go and buy a new primary residence and you're converting your old residence into an investment property. That's the kind of thing you would list in this section. So just keep in mind, everything you own that's not the address of this mortgage transaction goes in this section. The next subheading is declarations. This is pretty simple. You just basically go through and read all the questions, take your time, and then answer accordingly. The only one that I see sometimes trips people up is, are you borrowing any money for this real estate transaction? And they'll click yes, when in fact the answer is no. It's not asking about this mortgage. It's asking about additional money that you're borrowing outside of this mortgage. So if that's your case and there's no additional money you're borrowing outside of the mortgage, which is highly likely that your answer is going to be no, just keep in mind that you should in fact check no. The next subheading that you're going to be looking at is the demographics. This one, just like the others, it's very simple. You just click the corresponding information to you. You can also choose to not disclose if you wish. That one is your prerogative. However you'd like to go through this one is fine. And then after that, you'd get to the documents subheading. So we do not have an exterior secure document portal. This documents section serves as our secure documents portal. And so basically what will happen is after you submit your application, later on in the process, I will go through and put together a list of underwriting documents for you. And it'll include things like pay stubs, bank statements, IDs, things of that nature that are pertinent for the mortgage underwriting process. And then once you get all that stuff together, you're going to log back into your mortgage application, this exact screen that we're looking at here, and click this Add Documents button. And it works just like any other Add Documents button on any other website. It just opens up your file search on your computer, and you can upload from there. And that's going to be the way that you send your documents in to us. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to have to log back in, we do have an encrypted email link we can send you. If you'd rather just email us your documents, that's fine too. But please communicate with us ahead of time if that's the way you'd like to proceed, just so that we're all on the same page. Notes section is the next subheading. It is not really important for us at the beginning stages. You can basically gloss over this unless you have a special case where there's a question you want to ask us or something you want to make us aware of that's not obvious or maybe was not covered in any of the other previous subheadings. But 9 out of 10 times, notes is not a very important subheading for this mortgage application. And then finally, submit is the final button. And this is an important one for us because a lot of times I'll notice that someone has gone through and filled out their entire mortgage application, but they've not actually pressed the submit button. And the reason that this matters is because we need you to check both of these checkboxes, the read and understand borrower authorization checkbox and the read and understand e-consent disclosure checkbox. We need that for just mortgage disclosure purposes and so that we're compliant within the rules and laws of how this works. So that being said, if you haven't submitted your application, you haven't consented to these two checkboxes and we can't proceed. So it's important that you check both of these, then hit submit on your application. And then once you do that, you will finally have finished the entire mortgage application. And then basically it'll be up to us to go through everything and we'll get back in touch with you as soon as we possibly can, probably in the same day even, so that we can go over next steps. But that being said, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of our mortgage application process. I hope this video kind of helps work out the kinks of any questions that you may or may not have had. If there's anything that's not covered in the video, please feel free to reach out to anyone on our team at Reliant Mortgage Solutions. We can always help you through any problems that you might have, and we hope to see your application soon. Thanks.